Anakin Skywalker is not only the protagonist, but also the antagonist for the first two-thirds of the Star Wars saga. For the first third, he is known as Anakin Skywalker and is viewed as a great hero of the Republic, and is known to be the chosen one who would destroy the Sith. But as Anakin ages, he has a lot of internal conflicts that contradict the Jedi Order, which eventually leads him to join the Sith and become Darth Vader. This is where the second third of the saga begins, but instead of him being the hero, he is now the villain. All of the self-conflicts from earlier in his life have led up to him becoming Darth Vader, but he is still the chosen one, as he eventually turned back to the light and kills Emperor Palpatine, ending the Sith. Throughout his younger days, Anakin is always driven by one goal: to save the ones he loves, his mother and Padme, from dying. This is what we would describe as his id. Anakin is always acting on his id more than his ego and superego. Anything Anakin does is usually on impulse and rarely thought out, which is part of his free association thinking. It's actually his ego that eventually causes him to turn to the dark side. Anakin knows the Jedi cannot offer the power to save the ones he loves from dying, so he takes steps to the dark side. This also connects to Anakin's superego, which is telling him to take this path. As for Anakin's identification process, he never really had anyone to observe and adopt attributes from due to him growing up a slave. And even when he was taken into the Jedi Order, he never adopted any attributes from anyone, including Obi-Wan. When it comes to Anakin's fixation, he is always wanting to be with Padme. He didn't really have a father growing up, so Padme reminds him of his mother's love. When things don't go Anakin's way, he lets his anger overcome him, causing him to start yelling, which is a form of regression. Anakin's anger is a result of many things, one of the main things being the Jedi Council and the Jedi Order holding him back. When things don't go his way, he's oftentimes blaming them and discrediting them. This is part of Anakin's reaction formation. He then projects his anger onto them as part of his projection. When it comes to Anakin's rationalization and displacement, the best example would be when he found his mother brutally murdered by the Tusken Raiders. He found his mother brutally murdered by them, or when he found his mother, he slaughtered the whole tribe of Tusken Raiders, and he believed his action was justified because they murdered his mother.
I killed them. I killed them all. They're dead. Every single one of them. And not just the men, but the women. And the children, too. They're like animals, and I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them.
Anakin has an inferiority complex when he compares himself to the rest of the Council. This is most evident when the Council grants him a seat on the Council, but is not granted the rank of Master.
What? How can you do this? This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the Council and not be a master?
When it comes to a collective unconscious, the best example would be when Anakin first meets Padme at Tatooine and experiences love at first sight. Although it is not evident at first, we later see Anakin express his feelings in the second movie, and well, we can infer that what he felt in the first movie was feelings of love.
Are you an angel?
What?
An angel. I heard the deep space pilots talk about them. They're the most beautiful creatures in the universe. They live on the moons of Viego, I think.
You're a funny little boy.
For Anakin's archetype, I concluded that he falls into two. The first one being the rebel due to him not following orders from Obi-Wan and constantly not following the rules of the Jedi Order due to him killing people and falling in love with Padme and marrying her. He turns, later on, he turns into the villain or becomes Darth Vader because he's quite literally the villain of the second third of the saga. He counters almost all of the rebels' moves and is very good at it. Because of Anakin's true goal of being able to save the ones he loves from dying, he wants to gain as much power as he can. This is Anakin demonstrating self-actualization, and the best example is when Chancellor Palpatine tells Anakin about the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. Darth Plagueis the Wise was able to save people he cared about from dying, And so this really caught Anakin's attention because at this time of Anakin's life, he was having visions of Padme dying of birth, or during birth.
It's ironic. He could save others from death, but not himself.
Is it possible to learn this power?
Not from a Jedi.
Anakin is a very self-centered person, so he doesn't really show any unconditional positive regard for anyone except his mother. My first thought would be Padme, but if he did show it to her, he wouldn't have killed her by force choking her in Episode 3. Anakin's self-concept is very conflicted. He is often told that he is the chosen one who is said to destroy the Sith and bring peace to the galaxy, but throughout his life, he has encounters that contradict what is believed. The best example of this is when Anakin is on the planet Mortis, where the sun shows him Anakin's future of him becoming Vader and killing all the younglings and Padme dying. Lastly, Anakin has a lot of fear, but he never shows it, as it contradicts his personality and who he wants to be. This is an example of him demonstrating real self versus ideal self. To describe Anakin's personality traits that fall into the Hans and Sybel Isaac traits, I hope I pronounced that right, he would be classified as very outgoing and extroverted. He's by far the most extroverted character in the whole saga, but his mental state is not stable at all due to what I've previously mentioned. To build on this, Anakin falls into the extroversion category in the Robert McCrae and Paul Costas' Big Five factors. When it comes to the person-situation concept, I conclude that his actions are more based on his situations. The best example of this is when Anakin has defeated Count Dooku and he has him he has his lightsaber and Count Dooku's lightsaber up to his head, and he knows he shouldn't kill him, but Emperor Palpatine is telling him to kill him, and because of that, Anakin eventually kills Count Dooku in that moment. But Anakin knows it's wrong because it goes against the Jedi Order and what the Jedi believe. For reciprocal determinism, an example that is not commonly covered is how in his previous life he was a slave and how that affects his actions. We can see this when Anakin is deciding the fate of slave masters in one of the Clone Wars episodes called Slaves of the Republic. And then to end off this last perspective of this video, we'll talk about Anakin's self-efficacy. Did I say that right? Anakin knows he's good at what he does, but he believes he's not good enough. Like I previously said, he has his main goal of saving the ones he loves, but in the end, he fails to do so, and this results in him blaming the Jedi. To conclude this video off, I believe that the theory that best fits Anakin Skywalker is the humanistic perspective. This was a hard decision to make, but I think Anakin's self-actualization of trying to reach his full potential so he can save the ones he loves from dying outweighs the rest. But in close second, I would have chosen the psychoanalytical perspective because of Anakin's projection, rationalization, and displacement.